Welcome to the podcast.
Okay.
7 hours later.
Today, everybody, we have a special guest. We have Anthony on. He is a runner. He is not a lifter. He makes that very clear. We'll talk about this on the podcast.
Yeah, very clear. Not a lifter at all.
No, but seriously, he's really knowledgeable on endurance running and endurance training. He's had experience working at places like Cadence, so he's really knowledgeable on all things feet. These feet ain't free. Put some shoes on them. He knows how to dress your feet, okay?
Yes.
Especially for endurance events. He has a lot of knowledge in terms of actual acquired knowledge and experience running himself. We're going to be talking about his time running his 50K.
No, 50 miler.
50 miler. Not
50.
50. Yeah, 50 miler
Right.
this
We'll talk about
past
that.
couple weeks ago.
Couple weeks ago.
His experience with that, his experience with all of his endurance races, his time working, and probably also a bunch of other shit that is not related to running at all.
Yeah,
so
we
welcome.
totally loosened up a little bit, though, because we've been trying to do this for the last, hour. So we got to take a shot first before we start.
Didn't let me finish.
Oh,
Welcome, Anthony. Whatever,
First
dude.
and foremost, I appreciate you guys for having me on. You guys been absolutely crushing the podcast.
Thanks, man.
And I've been loving it. You guys keep it up, and it's just going to shoot off.
Pass it down.
Thank you.
Take one down. Pass it around.
go.
I'm happy that you've been watching all the episodes.
Yeah.
Clase Azul coming up.
This is a healthy shot.
We're in the ketchup condiment containers. We have to tap the bottle because it's good luck. Tap the bottle.
Oh, yeah.
Tap the bottle.
Was that a lot? Oh.
Got it.
This is the Kaze Azul
Cheers,
from Drew Whitehead's
everybody.
episode.
Cheers,
so
everybody.
cheers.
Let's go.
And shout out to
Cheers.
Drew
BarTalk
DW.
podcast. Here we go.
Shout out to DW for this really expensive bottle of tequila.
I only have my coffee as a chaser.
This is
gross?
my go-go juice, baby.
I hate anything like dark liquor. I gotta let it go for a second.
So do I.
Hold on. I'm back.
Tracy
God,
had
it
to-
just sits right here. Like how it's not fun.
Tracy
Yeah, I feel
died.
like
I
it
love
just
it.
got-
So good. Let's do it again.
Revived herself.
No. I feel like it just got 10 degrees hotter.
Right?
That's I'm like sweating.
It's like, damn,
Like, maybe we
Abigail,
need to
did you
turn
put
the
heat
fan
up
on.
in here? Oh my God.
Turn on. Do you want to turn on the fan?
No,
Ooh.
no,
Nah,
we're good.
we're good.
I'll be good in about 2 minutes. It just hits you right in the chest, and then
Right
you're
in the
like,
chest.
oh
It's like-
God.
It's just like getting punched right in the chest. Yeah, it's terrible.
All right.
All right. So
Now that we've discovered that you guys are a bunch of pussies,
hey,
Hey, I'll take
we
it.
are not. We took it. I'll take another one.
let's I'm literally not even the drinker.
I know.
Neither am I.
It's just anything
Yeah,
like that,
you
though.
and me,
Like,
I know.
if it was clear tequila, I'm fine. We drank it all weekend.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Like, how many drinks did we have? It went down like that.
We counted. We
Where'd y'all
had like
go?
13.
We went to Jacksonville,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you did.
right?
Yeah,
Did you see our video
No, I didn't
of us
see it.
getting sloshed in Jacksonville?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh my
We'll show
God.
you
We'll
after.
show you.
Damn.
It was
Yeah,
pretty much, it started out with us having a really good time, and then it progressed into me catching up to Abigail. And
Oh,
Abigail
yes,
being like,
yes,
I don't know
yes,
how
yeah, I
many
did see
shots
that.
I'm
I
on.
did see that.
Abigail. This is our first drink.
I did see that.
I know.
Yeah,
And then
so
the very
cringy.
last one hit me like a ton of bricks, and we got back to the apartment, and literally she's like, has it in my face, and I'm like, turned around. My makeup is all like crusty. I'm like, what do you want? She's like, say your name. I was like, hey,
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
Tracy.
This is my 25th drink.
Yeah, it was a ton.
So
of
how
fun.
many was the grand total though?
She, I think, got to 14
Damn.
because
Yeah.
we didn't count a couple. And I think I got to like 10 or 12, which for me is absolutely
Wait, are we talking about like shots or drinks?
drinks.
Both.
Shots and drinks.
Fuck that.
Both.
And
Yeah, that was a
we
hot
drank,
night.
it was literally Patron, what, club soda lime?
Yeah,
That
thank God I
it.
was
That
wearing a
all.
romper because I was sweating my ass off.
Jeez, I wouldn't even be able to say my name.
Like, one and we're done.
Toward the end, we
Hey,
couldn't
my
really.
name is Anthony. I've only
That's what I'm
had
saying,
like
like,
10
towards-
shots. Yeah, fuck that.
Like, towards the end, I'd be done.
Hell,
My
dang.
name's Jeffrey.
I know.
everything would have been blurry as fuck.
I know. All right, Aunt. So it's good to have you on.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about? I guess it's kind of weird because I think how we met is like through the gym. Like Drew, we've met through the gym.
You know
Aunt,
what?
We've met through the gym.
Please let me tell this story.
Oh, okay.
Because
Okay.
This is when JT had left, because I was always going to JT's class because I didn't know Abigail and I didn't know Tracy at all.
Oh.
And so I accidentally booked your class on accident because I'm not going to say any names, but I booked her class thinking it was her, and I think she was out sick or something. And I'm just like, it's 5:45 in the morning, and Tracy walks in, and she's loud as shit. And I'm just like, I'm barely awake, and she's coming up with this workout, and I'm just like, yeah, not happening. I'm like, whose workout is this? I'm not doing that shit. And I'm just like, where the hell is my trainer? And I'm just like, you know what? Whatever. Let's just do it. Mm-hmm. And that was the worst 45 minutes of my fucking life. Worst 45 minutes of my fucking life. But you know what? Her energy was like much needed. Aww. Because like I am not a morning person at all. And Tracy knows this.
Yeah.
She's like, are you awake? I'm like,
no.
And she's just like a barrel of energy. Like she just took 3 espressos at 6 a.m.
Oh yeah.
And so, you know, from that point forward, I was just like, you know what? That's the shit that I need in my life right now. And so from then, I booked her class since.
Oh yeah.
So. Until
actually, Abigail. I mean, all your clients ratted you out. Because they were just like, I was like, how's Abigail? She's like, she's kind of hard. And then so I looked at
the 9 a.m. class or her clients?
Well, because like probably. I would go to her class during my breaks actually at Cadence.
Right. Oh,
because it was like I had an hour break, and I was like, you know what, I'll go to Abigail's class.
Because Tracy taught conditioning and I taught strength.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So you came to the strength class, which is like, wow.
They're like, be prepared to be sore. We
never thought this would happen. Oh.
I mean, I'm getting all these comments like, be prepared to be sore. She's really good, but she's very strict. Abigail was straight to the point. Did not bullshit, and I was sore shit leaving.
Yep.
So
sounds like me.
It was definitely much needed, but I was just like, I was so scared going in there. I've never been so scared to go into a class.
I cannot tell you how many people have said that they are scared of my class.
I know, and it's
or they were. I don't teach it anymore, but
well, it was probably was it Manny?
No,
he calls us
Danielle.
Tasmanian Devils because we used to he used to go to my conditioning class and then go to her strength class, and it would be like, I'm Monday, Wednesday, Friday, she's Tuesday, Thursday. So he would go 6 a.m., 9 a.m. And like, I guess between me and between her, like he was sore all the time.
Yeah.
And then Abigail left, and so Manny kind of worked down on his own. Mm-hmm. And so Manny was always the one that was talking shit about us, in a good way, you know?
It's like a real toxic relationship I had with these bitches because... Because they would sit there and they would be like, she's the worst. I'll never go back. Oh my God, I'm so sore all the time. And guess who I saw the next fucking day at my class?
All the time.
Those people.
Because it's like, it's progress. Mm-hmm. So how can you not go? Mm-hmm. I mean, Tracy's class was like the most efficient that I've ever worked out. And I went back. Mm-hmm. You had so much knowledgeable about strength. Mm-hmm. And so I went back. Mm-hmm. It sucked. It's gonna suck, but I went back.
Mm-hmm. Sucked with a good purpose, though.
Yeah.
So, let's kind of get into, with your meeting us and going into the gym, what your training background is, how you started running and getting into endurance training, and then how you, I guess, your thoughts on cross training and like your despise for cross training.
So that's a good question. Really and truly, I've only been ultra running for 2 years.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Seriously, about 1 year. Mm-hmm. It first started out with my 4x4x48 that I told you about.
Yep.
And I went on a run with Kyle Kraft, my
coach.
That
mic a little bit closer to your face. Just a little bit. There you go.
Did I get right there?
Yeah.
So I went on a run with Kyle Kraft, and they were going like 20 miles. So at this point, I had no knowledge about ultra running at all. And so I went on a run with them, and I'm just like, man, I'm really loving the pace. Loving the trails. At this time, I've only been like 5K half marathon training. Mm-hmm. You know, very quick stuff. So at the pace that I was running, I was just really confused. I was like, this is awfully slow. Like, are we going to pick it up at some point?
Right, mm-hmm. Right.
But not knowing that that's what you have to do to run that type of, run.
Right.
And so I really enjoyed it. So I did some digging. So I looked up ultra running documentaries on Netflix. Not Netflix, YouTube. Mm-hmm. And so... that's when I immediately got hooked. So my first off-the-wall run was from Quincy all the way to my house, which was roughly 31 miles.
Oh my God.
So I was like, you know what? Let me see if I'm built for this.
Just by yourself?
Just by myself, off the whim. Not much, maybe a month's worth of training. Didn't know.
Someone come pick me up.
Fucking David Goggins out here.
Didn't know anything about the whole nutrition, taking goos every 20 minutes.
You had nothing with you?
I had maybe 6 goos and then some, like a little bit of electrolyte solution, which was not in an insulated flask, so it got hot like an hour. And so I ended up going by a gas station and getting like a Gatorade.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, so I was like, you know what? Now, at first it started off with Childs all the way to my house, which was 16 miles.
Right.
So I ran all the way from Childs all the way to my house with maybe this size water bottle. No goos, no nothing.
Sounds good.
And I made it all the way
Sounds
to my
good.
house. So Garmin took me to a route through all the way through Kalaran and all the way straight to my house. I was like, you know what? I kind of like this. You know, it's easy pace, and I want to see how far I can keep going. So that's when I had my friend. I texted my friend. I said, hey, drop me off in Quincy. I'm going to run all the way back to my house. He's like, dude, you're nuts. What are you talking about? And I was like, dude, don't ask questions. Let's just go. And so he drops me off, and I start my journey all the way on 90.
Oh my God.
I'm talking about there's no sidewalks,
No.
no nothing.
There's
You're running on the
nothing.
road.
I'm on the highway
Yeah.
running, and people are just like, what the fuck is this dude doing? And so I'm all the way 90 all the way to Tennessee Street.
You're this black guy running on
telling
the
you.
highway fucking 90.
I'm telling you, people were just like, probably like, what the fuck is this dude doing?
Yo,
like,
the hate
I had
crimes
this-
are
With
real.
nothing on you.
I had a vest on,
Oh.
and I had like
my God.
a little bit of food, extra socks, you know, the essentials, Body Glide and whatever. I had tissue just in case, you know, number 2. But anyway.
Yo, Tracy understands.
So I'm making my way all the way back home, and I got this run done. So which ended up being a 50K distance, which was my first recorded unofficial 50K. I was like, you know what? I'm actually built for this. Like, I think I can keep going. And so that's when, I mean, I cramped up so hard during that run.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, not knowing, I mean, if I would have known what I know now, I mean, I'm looking at myself back then, I'm just like, yeah, it's fucking stupid.
Yeah, but it was your first
It
one.
was fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm surprised I didn't die.
Right.
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 And so I got that done. I was like, you know what? I'm actually going to start taking this more seriously. And so I hired another coach, and it ended up didn't working out. I don't want to get into details, but it didn't end up working out. I mean, it was pretty much just like run 7 miles a day for 7 days a week.
Basic.
And that never worked out. I ended up getting pretty injured. I had Achilles tendonitis, so I was out for like 3 months.
I remember that.
Yeah, so
And that hit you hard.
that was a rough point in my life, actually.
That hit him
And
hard.
I text Tracy, and I was just like, I'm feeling the most unmotivated I've ever felt in my entire life.
Because you couldn't
People
do
don't-
anything.
People don't talk about how tough it is when you have an injury. Like, not just because you're not training anymore, which there's obvious benefits to working out, but just like your entire goal has been derailed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you-
and
and
your
you can-
mental was so like screwed because you were in such a good place. Like you were finally finding something that like you liked, that you enjoyed, that you can like get away from everything, but also do your sport. And then all of a sudden like that, it was over.
It was just taken away just like that. And I never forget, I text Tracy that week, and she was like, dude, what's up? Where you been? Like, she was just checking up on me. Like, that's what a good trainer does, actually. And I was just like, I'm just really unmotivated. I'm just like totally out of it. I was eating like shit. I'm talking about, I'm not even kidding. I was eating Wendy's like Monday through Thursday, like 4 for $4s.
Wendy's.
And people like,
That's
this is
just
the
not
first
even
time-
good fast food.
This is the
dude.
first time I've ever said this, and nobody will ever believe me because I don't never eat like that ever. I hate fast food. I never eat fast food, hardly ever. And I was just like, just
Fuck
out
it.
of it. Just
But this
gone.
is this kind of what we were talking about on the other podcast. It's like if something goes wrong, it's almost like that fuck it mentality. Let's just screw everything.
Fuck it,
Then
yeah.
if one thing's out of place, we might as well just derail everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Because who cares?
because I physically could not do anything.
Right.
It's one thing if it's something different and you can still kind of run, but if you physically cannot run and that's hindering you from like moving forward,
That's
And
debilitating.
God forbid he
sucks.
goes and lifts.
I know. God forbid he came into one of my classes and just modified. I mean,
Yeah.
shit.
God
What would have
forbid.
happened?
yeah. So moving forward, that happened, and so the new year came. I hate to say it, but like it was like a new year, new me thing. It was just like, all right, I gotta get my shit together.
It happens.
Like something's got to change, or else I'm gonna spiral. And so I finally got my shit together in January. probably since that year, I can probably single-handedly count on my fingers how many times I've had alcohol.
Wow.
This
is one of them.
Sorry.
Yeah, today is the day, actually.
Sorry.
Like, I changed my whole way of thinking. I
Good.
stopped drinking.
That's
I started
awesome,
journaling. I started meditating. And everything just came together.
We're gonna have to like derail from the conversation because I would love to talk to you about journaling and how it's helped you. Because Tracy is more. I was actually talking to Tracy about this yesterday. She's kind of more of an artsy person. Like when she feels like she needs to have her therapeutic moment, she'll just like paint something, or build something. But for me, I have to like think on paper. How's that helped you?
It's one thing thinking about it, but it's one thing writing it down.
Mm-hmm. I feel like my head. I feel like it dumps the shit out of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
It's still there, but it's not so heavy.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I've learned on the Strength Running podcast is another podcast, and he talks a lot about self-talk during ultra running distances. And that's something that when I have found out about that's something that I've done a lot.
Mm-hmm. Like
just
while you're
talking
running
to myself.
Yeah.
And just putting it down on paper.
Dude,
you'd be surprised what you come up with.
Dude, that's so wild. I have conversations with myself.
Yeah.
When
some people think it's weird. Some people think it's just like,
no,
okay, like whatever. But self-talk can get you through a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I'll talk to myself. I think it's a type of, I think it's kind of a form of insanity, but it's also, they've given it a name. It's a type of meditation. Where you basically communicate with yourself, so you're aware of your own words and thoughts as you're speaking out loud, and like letting yourself contemplate the moment that you're in now and the thoughts that you're having now as they arise. And I'll do that all the time. People think I'll wear headphones and I'll just be talking to myself, and I think people think I'm on the phone. I'm not on the phone.
Yeah,
I'm legitimately talking to myself.
Yeah,
literally.
Yeah. And it's so funny that you guys journal, and like I guess expression is different, like in multiple different ways. Like I literally will paint my kitchen. This podcast is sponsored by Clean Freaks, the all-natural, antibacterial, 100% biodegradable body wipe. I cannot tell you how many times these guys have saved my life. With them being individually wrapped, I could bring them anywhere, in my gym bag, on the trail, on the go, or even in my car. Check out cleanfreaks.com, spelt with a K, and use TRAS20 for 20% off.
Yeah.
Like I'll like talk to myself, and I'm like painting leaves on my kitchen wall, and Stefano walks in, my brother walks in, they're like, dude, what the fuck are you doing?
I always know.
And I'm like, I'm journaling, and here I am just like painting random shit on my wall.
I feel like there's so many different forms of therapy for some people, you know. Whatever helps you get you through whatever is what helps you. And journaling is meditation. That's for me, and that has helped me big time, because things that normally would frustrate you, things that normally would irritate you, things that normally would annoy you, it's just like this shield. Like there's this shield around me. And I've just grown it so much. Like I used to be not that way. Things would just irritate me like this. Things would just piss me off just like this. And whenever I started meditating and journaling, it's just like, it does not faze me.
That's awesome.
It doesn't faze me at all.
I think it's because you become more aware of this shift in your emotions. Like you become more aware of your emotional state when the emotions rise. So when you have that thing that pisses you off or makes you frustrated, you're aware of it, and then you practice the art of meditation, which is to like just let your feelings sit with you. Like not to let them go, not to make them stay, not to hold on to them, to just let them kind of float around until they leave themselves. Because that's the thing that people don't realize. It's like the emotions are all fleeting. The good ones, the bad ones, the mediocre, like the very in the middle ones, they're all just like guests in a home that resides inside of, your ears. And they leave.
Yeah.
Right.
And the two key things to that is acknowledging it.
Yeah.
And accept it.
Yeah.
Didn't you say that I maybe you were talking about this too, like when you started journaling you also started like doing breathing exercises and stuff? Did you start doing that too?
Yes. Tracy knows I am very anal about my heart rate. I don't know why. It's weird, but I am very anal about my heart rate.
It's a good thing, because you know why? When your last race, what is the first thing I told you? The last race that he had, that we'll get into in a second, but the last race that you had, the first thing that I did was went to your Strava, and I saw that you had 3 miles at 165, and I said, "Ooh, he is hurting." That is the first thing I picked up on.
I'm not going to dig into it, but until we get to it, but during that run, I saw my heart rate go the highest it ever went in my entire life.
Yeah.
You freaked out.
It went 170 beats per minute.
Holy shit.
And I said, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Like, I was happy if my heart rate was sitting at 150.
Yeah.
And then after that race, I went back to training. I went on a training run, like 6 miles or so, and my heart rate was 122.
Bro, insane. Remember that time we went for a run? We went on like a casual 6 mile run, and I'm like having a conversation with him at a pretty, easy pace. I mean, we weren't like, rushing or anything like that. But I'm literally out here, and he's like curious, what's your heart rate? I'm like, 170. And I'm like having a full blown conversation. Like, I'm able to breathe, we're able to talk, walk, look at the sky, whatever the hell. And he's like, yeah, I'm at like 130. I was like, what the fuck?
So whenever my heart rate gets to a certain point, I either stop or, well, pretty much just stop.
You crash and burn.
Yeah.
You begin to decline.
I stop, or I'll just keep doing this.
Right.
Just keep checking.
Right.
Like, my girlfriend even knows, like, whenever we're just hanging out or my heart rate spikes to like 80 or 90, I'll take my watch off.
Why is that, you think?
I don't know. I start getting sketched out.
But why? Like, are you nervous of getting to a certain point? Or you think that it's something that you haven't learned how to handle yet?
Haven't learned how to handle.
Yeah.
Like, my resting is 32 to 40.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I think that kind of brings us to the next topic, which is you had a race a couple weeks ago. You were training for a 50 miler, which is the longest race you've ever done.
Yep.
And it did not go according to plan. So just kind of outline where the race was, how long you trained for it, and then how the race went. Bring the microphone a little close to your face. Sorry. I feel like freaking Joe Rogan. Can you do a fist from your face?
Yeah. So I've been training for this race probably since May. So it's been a
good minute.
Been a long ride. And it's been a long ride because I've had to gradually increase mileage. Before this race, I was probably averaging 20 to 30 miles a week. Now, as an ultra runner, that's extremely low.
Right.
And so I'm like, all right, so I got to take this a lot more seriously and start training.
I average like 20 miles plus a week.
Yeah.
So I started my training plan with Kyle. And so it started out as a regimen. I've never had a scheduled regimen in my entire life. So Mondays were always my off days. Tuesdays were easy. Wednesdays was more of like a hit where it's like tempo, or a track day where it's like 100 meter or 200 meter runs. Thursdays were easy. Fridays was either rest or 3 to 4 miles. Saturday was always long days. So it was like a steady regimen, which was working out very perfectly. And he would call me every Sunday and we would have a debrief about how the week went. So this was like, it was spectacular coaching. And so Saturday, I meant May, June, July, August. And so I'm like, all right, my 50 milers coming up. I want to see if I can, actually do this. So I scheduled a 50K out of nowhere. Again, my random racing. So I scheduled this 50K maybe a week prior.
Too close.
2 weeks prior to my 50 miler.
Still too
So I was
close.
like, I told my girlfriend, I was like, hey, there's this 50K that I'd be interested in. And I kind of want to make it happen. I want to because it just so happened to be on the same trail as the 50 miler. So I figured this would be a good little training run because that was already on my plan anyway. So I went out and did the 50K. Everything was fantastic. Nutrition was great. I felt great. Mentally was great. Physically was great. And I crushed it. I did it in like 6 hours and 38 minutes.
Nice.
Which was amazing. I felt good. I felt more confident about the 50 miler coming up. And so about a week prior to the 50 miler, I went on a Sunday training run. And so after the training run, I felt kind of iffy a little bit, just felt kind of off. Like I don't know, something was off because the day before that day, I was on the road going to Orlando visiting my sister. So I hadn't drinking any water or nothing. And then so I got myself together and went to a baseball lesson that I had actually. And I was just sweating profusely, just like drenched. And it got to the point to where it was like 30 minutes till the lesson ended. And I was like, hey, like by chance, do you have an extra water bottle on you? Because I had already downed my water. And he was like, no, I don't have one on me. So I'm sitting by my car, and everything is blurry. Everything is blurry. I'm confused. It was like I didn't feel drunk, but like everything just felt just
spotty.
Yeah, spotty.
Heat exhaustion.
Yeah.
And so I was just sitting there panting by my car, trying to get myself together because I needed gas anyway. So I went to the gas station and tried to pound a Gatorade. I took like 4 or 5 swigs. By the time I got to my driver's side door, I threw it all up. So, and I still felt terrible. I think I only ate maybe once that day. And so I went home. I started feeling terrible again. And I just could not get myself together. So the next day I tried to go into work, and I'm sitting at car pickup, because that's where I worked my morning post in the morning. And I couldn't stand up. I could not even physically stand up. And I was like, I told my supervisor, I was like, I probably have to go home. Like, I'm feeling very terrible. I could not get myself together.
Still spotty or just feeling like weak?
Still feeling weak, and I started feeling very lightheaded to the point to where I was just kind of going in and out. Mm-hmm. And so I finally went to my doctor, and we got EKG done to me. We got blood test done and everything. And she literally said, I kid you not, literally said, if you would have been running for about another 10 minutes, you probably would have had a heat stroke. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I was just like, soaking that all in. So therefore, I was behind on salt, electrolytes. I mean, the whole 9 yards. Mm-hmm.
So this is the week before the 50.
Week before the 50, like literally Sunday, like next Saturday.
Talk about a peak week.
Yeah, literally.
Talk about
I'm like literally getting ready to taper for this race. Well, literally in the midst of tapering.
Right.
And so she told me, rest for 3 days, get plenty of fluids in you. So here I am, very nervous because now I have to take 3 days off, and my race is in 2 days. Mm-hmm. So I went out and raced, and so I asked Kyle, I was like, hey, should I wear a vest or a handheld? Like, how should I do this? And he's like, oh, you should probably wear a vest because, the aid stations are a little bit further apart than your recent race. Because I think the recent race was like maybe 3 to 4 miles in between, which is not bad. Mm-hmm. But the other race was about 6-7 miles, but with a lot more elevation.
Right.
So you're going to be out there for definitely a longer amount of time.
Right.
So here I am nervous because now I have not trained with a vest on during my entire training. Mm-hmm. And number 2, I don't wear a shirt when I train. Mm-hmm. But being out in the mountains, you don't know about mosquitoes and bugs and all sorts of stuff. Mm-hmm. So here I am running with a shirt, running with a vest, so many variables. It's just
a lot of weight.
Throwing everything off. Mm-hmm. So I went and ran. And the first 6-7 miles was up Horn Mountain, which is already 2,000 feet. And I'm miserable. It's humid as crap. I've climbed 2,000 feet already in the first 7 miles.
Jesus, that's insane.
And so at that point is where I should have been replacing salt, electrolytes, and everything else.
You didn't have a tailwind with you in your first 7?
I did.
Oh.
But I think, I probably wasn't sipping enough at that point. But just because I was feeling great doesn't mean, hey, you're not going to feel great in the next 3 miles.
Right.
You have to stay
you got to get ahead.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I was like, I felt great. I ate some ramen, ate some mashed potatoes. I thought it was going to be good. And then mile 13, 14, I cramped the worst I've ever felt. I mean, the worst. I mean, in places that I've never cramped ever.
Really?
And it's funny because I seen a girl laid out in the middle of the trail because she's cramping also. And she literally said, I never cramps. I was like, I never cramp either.
Yeah.
And we're both in the same spot. We cramped at the same exact spot. She's laid in the middle and I'm laid maybe 10 feet further from her. And every time I tried to stand up, it would just lock up on me.
Was there some kind of I know there was a lot of elevation, but was there some kind of crazy, very rapid elevation that had occurred that you think just got people? It was just a big ass hill?
Yeah, it was definitely, it wasn't like a gradual incline. I mean, it was just up.
Very steep.
Up. And just, it's still going up.
So you're essentially hiking at this point.
Yes. Right. And going back to heart rate, my heart rate was at 160. And
so you're already tripping.
I'm already spiked.
Right. Lactic threshold.
Well, and then on top of that, on top of the Yeah, we'll go into that later. but on top of that,
that sucks.
Yeah, but on top of that, you probably have you went into it with like decreased confidence because you're already freaking out because you're like, holy shit, my peak week is trash. Something's going on. I feel not so good about this. Then you get to the start of your race, right? You're already tripping because you're exhausted. You're not feeling the best. You start cramping like crazy. Your heart rate starts peaking higher than it usually does. So then you start getting in your head probably.
I mean, you pretty much hit that on the nail.
Right.
I mean, I didn't want to tell my coach that or anybody that at the time because I didn't want to admit it.
Right.
But mentally, I was not good.
No.
Right.
Mentally, because your mind is, fuck, I'm 7 miles in, and I have
50.
Out of a 50. I have 43 left. I mean, I don't think people can fathom just how mind fucking that is. Like, to be 7 miles into a 50 miler and be already real zapped. Like, you can come back and you can come back from it, but what it does to your head, it's like, there's no way.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with so many variables in between.
Yeah.
Right.
I
And
mean,
I think I said that to you on the phone too. It's like one of those things where you're like spiraling because you're like, shit, you're blaming it on you having a bad week before, and then you're blaming it on you having extra heat on your body while you're running, or extra like weight like from the vest alone, and then you're blaming it on you having like, now you're getting mental and you're like, why am I doing this? So on top of all the variables that you had, you're getting mad at yourself for being mad at yourself.
Yeah,
and that's like what really screws with people, especially as athletes, because you're like, I can't do this anymore. And you get to that place where it's like you don't want to admit it, but going through that is humbling because when you do that again, you'll know how to get past that. Like you have to hit that ground
100%.
point at some point in your athletic career, especially like as a runner, because
Tracy
now you
had
know
it.
when you get there, you can
Tracy had
get past
at,
it.
God, what was it? Jacksonville? It was the worst race you ever ran in your life.
I had that in Montana.
Yeah.
I had
You
that in
also had-
Montana.
what was the bad race that I was there for? I think it was Jacksonville.
That was Jacksonville.
And you even made a post about it, and you're like, I
Yeah.
think that was the worst run I've ever had in my life.
Yeah. But you know, like, and it's not like something that you do want to admit because you hate saying like how down on yourself you are, and you hate admitting like that you fucked up, and it's not just that you had a bad race. You know, there's things leading up to that for the reason why you had a bad race, but it's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's hard to get past that, and it like stays with you for a while, but going through that, sorry, I'm like hella loud, but going through that is really important.
Yeah.
Is really important because now you know how to fix it. Now you know, like, if you're in that type of a situation, how you can talk yourself out of it, you know, save yourself a little bit.
And that's exactly where I was going. So, you know, mile 13, I'm cramping really bad. And so I'm just like, I literally called Kyle on the phone. I was just like, hey, I'm cramping super bad. I don't know what to do right now. He's like, I mean, you probably just need a bunch of electrolytes. I didn't have no salt pills, and all I had was water and Tailwind. So
You didn't have anything packed with you other than that?
Nope.
Dude.
because I was just in my head, I'm just like, I'm good. I'm fine.
Right.
And so
But you're not.
I was not fine at all.
You're not fine. What's the meme of the dog in the burning room with a coffee?
Oh,
Yeah.
It's
yes.
fine.
It's fine.
That's Anthony. That's Anthony 7 miles in.
It's fine.
He's got his Tailwind, no fucking salt pills. Tailwind is gone, actually. He's drank it all. And he's just holding the empty bottle, and he's seizing up, and he's like, it's fine.
Hey, you're laughing, but literally people on the trail was like, hey, are you okay? I'm fine. I'm fine. Literally,
He's
I'm fine.
holding himself. He's seizing. He's like, yeah, don't worry.
I need
Don't
a
worry.
fucking salt pill.
Yo, does anybody have a fucking salt pill?
Yo, what
I'm
can I do to get a
surprised
fucking
nobody-
salt
you
pill
didn't
around
ask
here?
anybody?
Goddamn. Huh?
I'm surprised you didn't ask anybody.
I did, and actually a lady did give me a salt pill about 5 minutes later. So I took that. I mean, it didn't do anything. But
No, because you didn't
that point.
do it when you're supposed. You didn't take it when you're supposed to. You were late.
Correct.
You were too late.
And so I literally called Kyle. I was like, hey, how many miles to the next aid station? He's like, 4 miles. I was like, fuck. So I'm just like, fuck, this is about to be, I could not run a downhill. I could not run a flat.
Wow.
That's how down bad I was. And in my head, I was mentally already gone. Because in my head, I'm like, all right, as soon as I get to that aid station, I'm telling Kyle I'm done. I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was another voice in my head. It was like, dude, like, this is ultra running. Like, it's going to suck. Like, just to keep pushing. But, and then the other voice was just like, dude, you can't get, like, we're already depleted. We're done. I'm like battling these two voices in my
You
head.
got the two Anthonys on the shoulder, man.
Literally.
Yeah.
And so I finally made it to the aid station. It's about mile 18. And so I literally took 3 salt pills, 2 salt chews, electrolyte solutions, pickle juice.
Oh,
I tried to eat I don't know what I was doing. I was eating random shit.
You're like, somebody
Just
give
trying
me
to
a McDonald's,
something, like
Give
let's
me a
go.
Big Mac.
yeah.
Something.
You should have
Something.
ate something solid.
So I did all that, and I finally get a fresh wind. I was like, all right, you know what? I'm good. Let's go. So I get back on the trail, and I tried to run, but couldn't really run. So I started hiking up this big climb, and I'm starting to feel out of it again. I'm starting to feel woozy, starting to get dizzy again. So I sat down on the stump, finally got up, and tried to go back again, and I just threw up. I was just like, this is either about to, I had to make a choice at this point, because I was like, either this is about to be another
Heat stroke
5
situation.
miserable miles, because I had just started,
Yeah.
and I was a long way from the next aid station. It probably would have taken me another 2 hours. I said, well, this can go one of 2 ways. This is about to be another miserable 5 miles to where I can't get a goo down, food down, barely even liquid down.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt at that point I had to make a judgment decision to just cut it off.
Because you had that, it was kind of that heat stroke situation again, where
Yes.
you're also considering your legitimate health,
Right.
And not just am I wimping out at this point? It's like,
Safety.
if I continue, could I severely hurt myself / potentially die?
Yeah.
Because it happens.
Yeah.
Like, people don't understand. You go on these ultra runs. I feel like everyone thinks of, when they think of ultra runners, they're like Cam Hanes, David Goggins, like run 100 miles no problem, and it's like, no, actually, if you read his book, David Goggins' book, like, he almost died the first time he ran a 24-hour race, the first time he ran 100 miles. Like, you can die from these things if you don't plan well, and if you don't plan right, and if you don't train right. And
100%.
so you probably made the right call. I mean, it's
100%.
a disappointing call for you. It sucks, but just because it's a disappointing call doesn't mean it's the wrong one to make.
100%. And that's where I was at. And so when I officially made that decision, and I called Kyle, and I was like, hey, man, I just threw up everything I tried to take in. And I was like, I'm done. And he's like, are you sure? I said, yeah, I'm done. And so I called my girlfriend, and I was like, hey, I'm done. And she said the same thing. Are you sure? I said, yeah, I'm done. I can't get any foods down. I can't get any fluids down. I'm done. When I hung up the phone, like, a whole whirlwind of emotions came down on me.
I bet.
And this is when, like, I knew, like, running was a passion. This is when I figured out running was actually a passion. Because never in my entire life, and Tracy probably knows this, but I don't show, like, much of emotion at all. At all. Like, tears were coming down. And I was just like, this sucks. I quit. And that's what I had to live with. People were, asking me, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm done. And she's like, are you sure? She's like, yeah, I'm done. I mean, it was just like, everybody was telling me what I didn't want to hear at the time.
Yeah.
It was just like,
there's nothing worse than the, like, you having to continuously say you've made a decision you didn't want to make. I'm done. I had to quit. And, like, people don't understand how upsetting of a thing that is. As a coach, like, when Tracy finished her Jack's race, I didn't say a word to her. Because her and I knew, like, I'm not stupid. As a coach, I know.
Yeah.
I was like, that wasn't her race. Not even close. She wimped out, and she was in pain. It was like both. And her and I, like, she's more disappointed than I'm disappointed.
Right.
I actually don't, like, I'm disappointed because I know she could have done better, but I don't really have that much skin in the game. She's more disappointed.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say a damn word to her, because I know when she crosses that line, and which is what happened. I mean, she crossed that line, and she was like, people tried to talk to her, and she was like, fuck off, and walked away.
Yeah.
Because she had to be alone.
Yeah.
And so
that's
that thing with
literally
you,
where I was. I
Right.
mean, I was literally sitting down in the chair, and I'm looking off this way. My girlfriend's sitting right there, Kyle's sitting right there, and they're like, hey, man, these things happen, whatever. Which was the right things to say, but at the time, in my head, I'm just like, I don't want to hear
Didn't
that
matter.
right now.
Well,
I didn't
it's
wanna
like a
hear that. I
new-
was like, I quit.
It's a new level of defeat that you kind of
Yeah.
feel. And I didn't text you right after either.
I'm pretty sure you knew at that point.
Yeah, I did. And it's like, it's just like Abigail said, like I've been there before. So I wasn't going to text you right away. And I think I just texted you and said, what happened?
Yeah.
Because I literally just saw it was like,
Yo,
what happened?
Yeah.
Her stats from Montana. I have a video of her polar stats from Montana. I sent it to her and I said, I literally can't even analyze this. Like her stats.
I bet you yours was the same.
Her
100%.
stats
Yeah.
look like fucking chicken scratch. Like it was like down.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the ugliest thing I've ever seen. I mean, her race the next day was a lot more readable, but I was like, I showed Drew and I said, Drew, I don't know how you'd analyze this. He said, you would analyze this by saying this was a bad race.
Yeah. No, literally,
Yeah.
like my first mile was like 9:35 minute pace, and then everything else was like 14, 15, 16.
And your heart rate was like.
What was it?
Gone.
It was like when I literally knew not to say anything was when I looked at your stats and it said, I want to say it was mild, like 18, 19 was literally 18 minutes and 20 seconds. And I read it and I looked at Barry and I said, don't text him.
Tracy's on
We're
Strava and she's like, oh, fuck.
I'm literally looking at my phone on Strava and I'm looking at Barry sitting across the table from me and he's like talking about it. He's like, oh, I'm going to text Ant. Like, I
Don't
bet it
say a
was
word.
I was like, do not fucking text him.
Don't say a
Yeah.
word.
Because I knew, like,
And what was so crazy is that night, for some odd reason, but I was like, I know Tracy's gonna text me at some point. I just don't know when. I don't feel like fucking doing this right now. And I was just like, I know she's gonna text me, and she never texts me, but she texts me like at the
I
appropriate
think I texted
time.
you the next
Yeah.
day. I texted you like the next morning because I just knew that it was like, hold, like you didn't post anything like you normally do. It was not even like ready for the race. It was just like the whole time leading up to it, you had almost so much anxiety
Yeah.
going into it. So like I knew. I've been there before. It's very hard.
Yeah, and
Very
my girlfriend
hard.
was like, "Did you take any pictures?" And I was just like, "I'll be honest, I didn't have time to take pictures because like it was just not enjoyable at the time."
And also, fuck that. Why do you want to remember it? That's like, it's like,
Exactly.
well, no,
So-
I don't. Maybe next year, but not this one.
But you know, there's really something to that because that race, like, how much more motivated do you feel now to train?
Good question, because I said this yesterday. I said, you know what? I'm glad that shit happened.
Right?
I'm glad that shit happened because I know how I feel. I know how I should feel now.
Absolutely.
Because that Sunday, and then Sunday I rested, Monday I rested, and Tuesday I went back to training.
Good for you.
I told my girlfriend, I said, I'll never DNF again.
Yeah.
I'll never DNF again. I said, I would literally have to be on my like deathbed before I DNF again. Mm-hmm. I was
that's
like,
the
you know
thing.
what? It made me wake up and realize that, you know what? This shit is hard. This shit is real.
Mm-hmm.
And shit happens. Like, this is welcome to ultra running.
Mm-hmm.
And that made me realize a lot of things. Like, I told Kyle, and Kyle told me this. He was like, it's probably like a humbling experience for us. I was like, no, it was 100% a humbling experience. Because from that race, like I said, I will never feel that again. I will never quit unless I'm like literally, like Abigail said, like something health related wise to where it's going to jeopardize like my health.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I'll figure it out.
But you know what? Every athlete has to have that happen to them.
Have to.
Like every single one.
And I couldn't accept that. I could not.
But that's
accept
because
it.
you're an athlete.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, no athlete's going to get done with something like that happened to you if they're really an athlete and be like, nah, I feel good about it.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
You know? Like, the athletes that I train, they will get the most frustrated if they can't get a move right, if they can't get an exercise right, if they can't get some kind of skill-based movement correct the first, second, third time. It's like immediate frustration. If they have a bad workout, immediate frustration. And I always tell them, I'm like, don't let the frustration overtake you, but use that shit.
Yeah.
I was like, because you know what? You being frustrated is what makes you so good at what
That's
you do.
fuel.
Yeah.
That's fuel.
And it's also like, you know, it in the humbling sense of it, you know, it puts you in this position of knowing how it felt, because I feel like a lot of athletes that like I see or I watch on like, or listen to on podcasts or, you know, watch on YouTube, they have like this pre-race prep like ritual that they do. And like their week before, their tailoring week is like the exact same thing. They eat the exact same thing and they hydrate the same so that way they can prepare. But life happens and shit happens where maybe that week before really wasn't in your best favor. But going through a bad experience like that, I mean, you can even not be at your best prep, but you know that you'll perform your best because you've been in that shithole before.
Yeah.
And you know how it feels to kind of like now take yourself out of it, even if you didn't have a bad week. Like if that week before happened now, I think that you would have went further and did further in the race that you just had.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you were in the exact same position, knowing how you felt in that 50-mile race where you had to DNF, you probably would have excelled better just because of that like mental state that you've already surpassed.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Because like if I decide to do this 50K that's coming up in October, like I know now, like that feeling of being stuck in a pain cave, to where I was like, all right, I've already been through this. I know what this feels like, and I'm just gonna push through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So after this, you got a 50K coming up that you want to do. When are you gonna hit that 50-miler again?
I think for now, I'm gonna wait till next year to attempt probably the same 50-miler, probably Rebecca Mountain again. I'm gonna run it back, and I'm just gonna master this 50K right now.
Mm-hmm.
And just like I was telling you guys earlier, is I'm gonna take this off season, November through February, to just strictly cross training. I have to get better at climbing. I have to get better at just leg strength, because Tracy made a good point.
Threshold work.
You know, threshold point was, I'm so used to being relaxed. I'm so used to being in a very chill zone where it's just like 122, 130, 140.
You're like zone 2, zone 3
That's
all
where
day.
I want to be all day.
Right.
Like, I don't need that, you know, 170, you know, whatever, because I only experience that one day a week, where maybe like a tempo workout or a track workout, which is not really at
and
that
not
point.
even, right.
It's not at that point, but it's the closest I get to that.
Right.
And so Tracy made a good point. She's like, you know, you don't have no kind of lactate threshold training. And I was just like, I'm not disagreeing at all. Like, I don't. And so
You're like, there's a reason I don't want.
Exactly. I don't like it.
I was like, remember that time I told you to come into class like once a week? And he was like, I know.
Exactly.
He's like, I guess I'll come back.
Well, that's the thing with threshold work is like, I said this, I think I made a post about it today. It was like, I had to work on that with Amy, you know, because with my client Amy, she's doing Spartans and she does beasts, but she also does supers, and she wants to go for the 20K.
Yeah, we're doing the 50K in May.
Amy
No,
doing
but
too?
what's the
Did she do it with me?
Oh, awesome.
sprint? Oh, she wants to do the It's sorry. She does sprints and supers now, but she wants to do a beast. Sorry, I was.
Oh yeah,
getting my
she
words.
hasn't done a half marathon yet.
Right, but our training, a lot of it is centered around base work and then threshold work. Like, we're at opposite ends of the spectrum, because she's always been so middle ground that it's like she goes kind of hard all the time, instead of being like, we're going to have days where we chill and it's heart rate training strictly.
Yeah.
And we're staying in this like low zone 3, high zone 3 maybe range. And then we're going to push it, and we're going to see where your ceiling is now. And then we're going to hit that ceiling, and you're going to get an idea of exactly what it feels like to hit that ceiling. And then you're going to clear it. Just give yourself enough time to clear it, and then you're going to hit it again. And it's like, I think that people don't realize, especially when the longer the distance, the less people appreciate the importance of that. Within good reason, because when you're running ultras, you're like, I'm running 100 miles. Why am I going to do like a hard 2-mile threshold day? This is stupid, you know? But it's kind of the same way as like, why would a Spartan sprint person do base work?
Right.
Why the hell would I do that when all I'm running is 3.5 miles? Like, I'll be fine.
Right.
You know? But it's like, you have to do it.
Right.
Because to get good at one end of the spectrum, you actually have to touch the other end. It's like the circle. It's like they're so far apart, they're almost together.
Yeah.
Right.
And not to mention, you're not running road races. You're running trails.
All trail.
We were talking about it when we were on our walk the other day. I'm like, what happens when he hits that hill? What happens if you just so happen to trip and fall and you got to get back up on your feet real quick and catch a person in front of you? Like, what happens when you're using like different outputs in your run and you're at
energy
165
system.
and you're like, holy shit, I've never experienced this before. And you start crashing.
You are exactly correct, because the terrain that was in Alabama was different. It was different trail running than it is here. where it's just flat surface. It's not even, but it's flat enough to where you can make consistent
not a lot of elevation either at all.
strikes on the ground. Whereas up there, I'm having to bounce from this rock, bounce from that rock. I mean,
cadence break.
It was
constantly
off. My whole cadence was off. Mm-hmm. And even the downhill, I couldn't just step there. I had to
every step was effort.
Right.
Yeah. Every step was effort. And that's
effort.
The thing is like every energy system gets used all the time, kind of. Like even for me with jiu-jitsu, like I'm using a lot of like phosphocreatine at the beginning. Like everybody, you're using phosphocreatine at the beginning of any like very intense exercise bout. Right. Sometimes even at the beginning of an exercise bout in general. You're using the anaerobic glycolytic system, which is like, you wouldn't think for an ultra. You're like, I'm not using an anaerobic system. Like it's all aerobic, but it's like, do you have to speed up at all? Do you have to go up a hill? Like, do you have to step with purpose? Like that's going to be, you're going to switch into that anaerobic glycolytic system. For me, like I would sit there and be like, it's a 5-minute match. Like I'm primarily anaerobic glycolytic, but it's like, no, you're going to switch to an aerobic position. Mm-hmm. Like you're going to need that base work. Yeah. Like you don't just have one match. Do you plan on losing? Like right. You have other matches. So you have to train every energy system a little bit because you're always training every energy system a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
And the importance of recovering is huge. And that's why I'm trying to get you into class, like just to do some sort of cross training, because even if it's just for a hot second where you're like using that much energy to get yourself into a position where you're uncomfortable and that you have never hit before, how do you recover? You don't know how. And now all of a sudden, mile 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, you're like at your absolute max, can't breathe, can't feel your legs, crashing and burning. And it's like, just learning how to combat that and how to like take that with a grain of salt and now excel into that into your 50, I think would be a lot better off.
Yeah, as I go into this training block of cross training, there's so much science and like recovery things that I have to learn and do. Because if I told you guys what I do for recovery, you'd be like, what the fuck? Are you serious?
I meditate and journal.
Since probably this year, the only vitamin I have ever taken ever was magnesium. And that's because Kyle told me about it. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, it helps with recovery and whatever. I have never taken in any protein. Nothing. Like, let me anything.
Listen to this. We're talking on the phone. I'm in Publix. I literally have like 2 rotisserie chickens. I got a frozen pizza for my brother and for Stefano because I was like coming over here or something like that. I have like 2 rotisserie chickens. I have all this like protein shit because I'm drinking those slates now. Mm-hmm. I'm like, getting all this stuff from my house. Anthony's talking to me. He's like, well, I had like shit that was like, good nutrients, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking to him on the phone about his race. And he's like, dude, my nutrition and my vitamins like just sucks. I'm like, okay, well, for a week, I was like, don't do anything different. I don't have to know the exact amount. I said, you're literally going to see me and Abigail in a week from now. I was like, track everything. What you drink, right? Like if you have a Gatorade, if you have a Coke, if you have anything, like put it down. Doesn't have to be exact. You got chicken and rice, just write chicken and rice. I don't give a shit about how much it is right now. Mm-hmm. Don't try, just eat and write it down. Literally shows up today. I'm like, where's that? He's like, I didn't do it. I'm like, what the fuck, bro?
But this is the thing is like, man, this off season is a great learning experience for you. I think it will also be, I'm really big on it right now, which is like confidence comes through preparation. And that was, I think, really what you were missing a few things, but like that was one of the largest, which is like confidence comes through preparation. And that's part of doing threshold work is like, of course, there's actual physiological responses that are happening in your body to the work that you're doing, but there's also just a sense of confidence that you gain by being like, I've done the threshold work. I've done the work I needed to do, and I'm ready for this. I know exactly what 170 feels like. I know exactly how to clear that. I know exactly what redlining feels like. I'm good. Yeah. I'm not worried about this. Like, I know what this terrain feels like. That's why people will take trips, to the mountains every month, every other month, whatever, because they're like, I've done this shit. Like, this is not a problem for me anymore. Yeah. And so your off season, like, I'm excited to see it for you because you're going to be able to figure out exactly what you need. You're going to gain that confidence. You're going to you're going to fuck up, but you're going to reevaluate. And your running season next year, man, dude, it's going to be so much better.
And banking off of that, is kind of how the journey started in January, where it was just like, you know what? Because I told you guys about the drinking thing. Like, I could probably count maybe 7 or 8 times that I've drank this entire year, which is, good to say because like before then, I used to run, but just get hammered every weekend. Mm-hmm. And not knowing that, dude, you're not doing anything. You're just going in a cycle. Mm-hmm. I was like, you know what? I want to see what happens when I take it seriously. I want to see what happens when I go 100%.
Yeah.
And this year it hasn't been 100%, but if I could plug in those variables that Abigail was talking about and just like everything,
yeah,
the sky's the limit.
And you're already like, you are so knowledgeable and you already are so good at what you do. It's not like us just nitpicking on you. Like, I'm just busting you because you don't come to my freaking class.
Trust me, I know.
And I'm like, come on, But you're already so good.
That's why I respect you two guys, because I need people to tell me what the fuck I need to do, not just tell me shit that I want to hear.
Damn it.
Coaches need coaches.
Like, I'm going to show up to this freaking house and this podcast. I'm going to get roasted about not giving her my goddamn nutrition.
But coaches need coaches. Like, I'm doing Tracy's programming. Mm-hmm. It's not like she's stupid.
Right.
But she needs a coach because you cannot be unbiased with yourself.
No.
Right. You just can't.
No.
And you need someone to be there. Like she said, like, it's hard to tell yourself mentally that you're doing the right things, you're doing the wrong things. You need somebody on that outside to be like, yo, you got to wrap back in for a second.
Yeah,
or like to pull you into what you're doing.
You need the coach to tell you, yo, let's rest today. Let's change it up a little bit. Your stats look terrible. Your ANS recharge has been sucking for 3 days. You also need that coach to tell you, dude, why the fuck did you skip your workout, bro? What you doing? Like, I feel tired today. I don't really care. Like, you got to get it done, man. Mm-hmm. Let's see it. Yep. We'll check back tomorrow. Yep. So you need the coach to do both things, and it's really hard to do that with yourself.
Yeah,
like it's really hard to do. Dude, I had that yesterday. I was like, none of me wanted to go drill because it's like I've already drilled. I've already done like my workouts for the week. It's Sunday. It's 7 p.m. Like, ugh, gross. But I went, and I'm so glad I went. Because if I hadn't done that, I know myself. I would have beaten myself up about it. Like, and I would have known that whoever was my coach would have looked at me and been like, dude. Like, they would have been looking on my polar. They would have been looking at my polar coach, and they'd been like, where's the workout?
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly where it was with running and Kyle. Because Kyle had my Strava. And so he was seeing. He's taking the time. I mean, he's taking the time to make this plan for me.
Yeah.
I got to follow through.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it made me so accountable for all my runs. And I did all my scheduled runs. I did my long runs. And that's why I said, like, I needed a coach, somebody that, keep me hold accountable for these runs.
So important.
Like I said, he can look at my Strava and see what I did. And let's just say I had a crucial long run coming up and I didn't do it. I'd feel like total shit.
Mm-hmm. So
Kyle's a good guy, too.
So you run an ultra. You run long distance. You worked at Cadence.
I did work at Cadence.
Okay. What shoes are you wearing?
Huh?
What shoes are you wearing?
Right now?
For your run. He's wearing socks.
Oh, you're talking about like...
Come on, bro.
What did you wear? What did you wear for your race?
Oh, Mont Blancs from Ultra.
He got me on them.
Yeah.
That's Mont Blancs.
So speaking of that too, was before that 50K, my Mont Blancs hat came in on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And originally I was going to run in the Peregrines because that's what I had been training in. I was like, Peregrines feel nice and whatever. So these Mont Blancs came in, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try them out. I'm not going to race in them or anything because I haven't raced in a zero drop shoot nor trained in it ever. Mm-hmm. So my cows didn't fire up. Everything felt fine. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Saturday comes, I bring the Mont Blancs and the Peregrines. I was like, you know what? I'm running the ultras. And so much could have gone wrong that day for me to make that decision. Because I had not trained in a zero drop shoe ever before that. And
they were just new shoes.
They were just new shoes.
Yep.
I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do it. And they felt amazing.
Yeah.
They're
gave really
me the best ride ever.
So for really long distance running, trail running, Mont Blanc ultras are the way to go.
From Ultra.
What would you say for like a Spartan sprint, for a 5K runner, for a pavement runner?
Pavement or trail?
Like a road. Pavement and trail. Like both. I'm sure they're separate shoes, but
I feel like it's such a loaded question only because so many people have preferences.
Can I take a bet on what you're going to say for your road?
What?
Can I take a bet?
For a road run?
Can I take a bet for both?
Go.
I'm going to say you're running in Hoka Rincons on the road for like a 5 or 10. Not anymore. And then maybe the Sauconys for the trail.
I have, well,
only because you ran your Peregrines for the 5.
You would be right, but I honestly have not ran on the road in a long time.
Yeah, true.
So during the times where I had tempos, it would be the Saucony speeds, which was like once a week.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess you haven't really. There's no need for you to run on the road.
But what would you say, like when you were saying something about preferences?
So for that ideal person, what was your question?
It was ideal shoe for like a shorter distance trail runner and then like a shorter distance road runner. And by shorter distance, I mean not track athlete. I mean like 5K.
I still
10K.
feel like it's going to go boil down to a preference because some people prefer more cushion. Some people prefer more minimalist. So you can go 100 different ways.
What are your opinions on cushion versus less?
More cushioning is bad.
Yeah.
More cushioning is bad because all it's doing is it's just aiding you. Because when you hit the flat surface on the road, the more spring back you have, like the more responsiveness in the cushion, it's doing all that work for you. So it's actually not strengthening your muscles at all.
Right.
Versus a shoe that has maybe mid cushioning to more minimalist, the less spring back you're going to have. So the more that's going to activate, your calf muscles and everything else and get those working. Which is one of the reasons why I went to the Ultra, because I never told Chase this, but I had a problem with overpronating. And
I remember you talking to me about this.
Yeah, so I had a problem with overpronation. So overpronation, you can either get insoles, you can get a corrective shoe, you can go all sorts of route, or you can get a zero drop. You can get a zero drop shoe. And
because you fix yourself.
It fixes everything itself. It fixes everything, your alignment in your back, your stride, your cadence, and everything else. So I went the zero drop route and everything. I don't think I've ran in a non-zero drop in like 6 months.
I think it's the thing though, like people, it's with everything. Like people crave what's expedient. Like going to zero drop, it takes time. It takes a long time to fix sometimes your running form and your cadence and how you feel during those runs. Like you're probably going to, it's the like you have to digress to progress kind of thing.
Yeah.
When you go to zero drop sometimes for people, and nobody wants that.
Right.
Like,
And so working at cadence, that's one of the things from Ultra where I had to be careful, because you can recommend the zero drop shoe, but then they're going to ask, okay, what's zero drop? So now you got to sit here and explain what the zero drop is and how it works. And so they're just like,
It sounds bad. It's like,
I don't know if I really want to do all that.
You telling me I got no cushion, man?
Yeah.
Like it's like I'm running barefoot?
I was just about to say, it's like you tell people that you're basically running barefoot, and then
why
I had
the fuck
somebody
am I
at
paying
the
for
gym.
these?
I walked in after our run, like just to do a cool down on the bike, and somebody was like, "Dude, the tops of your shoes are so big. They're like, they look like clown feet." And I'm like, honestly, I don't give a shit about what the shoes look like, because I know that the toe box is wide, and that's what I need.
Ultra is one of the best footwear brands there is, because it's the realistic foot shape of our feet. It's the natural drop where we're supposed to be anyway. And it gives you the natural foot strike where we're supposed to be.
Yep.
From the heel to the toe is the exact same stack height, whereas most tennis shoes have a little bit of a heel lift. And the higher the heel lift, the more likely you are to strike on your heel. And so, I mean, I'm sure you know the science of, like your tendons in your legs and stuff
Heel
like
striking?
that. Where, I mean, you're literally landing like this, and you're just rolling forward. Whereas you're supposed to land on your forefoot and just propel forward.
Well, that's what happened with that's why cadence is so like working on your cadence is so important, and also your running form, because that was what was happening too. So I have a runner client right now who crazy low cadence, crazy big stride. I mean, like heel striking motherfucker. And he was like, man, like it hurts right under here. Like right under here. I'm like, yeah, that's your ischial tuberosity, man. Like you're in this like you're constantly placing force on your hamstring and your high adductors. Constantly. Boom, boom. Every step you take. And I was like, and you have no strength in internal rotation. So of course your ischial, like of course it's hurting there, And so a lot of our training has been cross training, strength training, Anthony. A lot of our training has been around like working on like fixing his pelvic orientation, working on training strength and internal rotation, obviously just working on his cadence, actual running corrections. So, and it's been helping him a lot. I mean, he's like, dude, I'm running 3 miles now. I feel way less pain. Mm-hmm. But you have to get to that place. I mean, Tracy had that. She had a lower cadence, not bad. But you had Achilles issues.
Yeah, I got plantar fasciitis bad.
Yeah, she had plantar fasciitis, and so we had to do a lot of sprint work because I was like, you can't be on your heel at all right now.
Just keep me on the balls of my feet.
But then it boils down to there's 2 different types of runners. Mm-hmm. You got runners that don't really care, and you got runners that care. Mm-hmm. The runners that don't care, they just want a tennis shoe that looks good and go on about their day. Mm-hmm. And then you have the runners that actually care about their gait, whether they overpronate, they're neutral, or they supinate, whether you have a high volume foot or a low volume foot, because they say, well, what does that matter? Well, it matters because in a lower volume shoe and you have a high volume foot, it doesn't matter what shoe you step in, you're going to feel that on the top of your foot regardless. Mm-hmm. If you have a high volume foot and you're in a low volume shoe, it doesn't matter. Or if you have a high ass arch, it doesn't matter what foot you step into, you're going to feel it regardless. And some people are just so caught up on the looks of the shoe and, you know the jazz.
Yeah.
And so all that stuff really matters if you care. And I tell you, being at Cadence really, really, really opened up my eyes to everything about the science of running. And that's where I am at now. I'm a good runner and I've done all the things physically. But now it's time to dig a little deeper to the science of how this works. Mm-hmm. And that's what's going to get you further.
So why'd you stop working at Cadence? Can we talk about that?
I stopped working at Cadence because
drama.
That's the tea, sis.
I loved my time there. It was amazing.
Get that microphone close to your face. Dude,
Anthony held that thing down. Like, Cadence was Anthony.
We sent everybody to Cadence. I mean, one, it was close to the gym. Shit, you could walk there.
Shit, I'm trying to get Anthony to open up his own shoe store. This podcast is sponsored by Fit and Fetch MD, the organic CBD multivitamin soft chew for pets. Created by a local firefighter and paramedic here in Tallahassee, Brad gave me these soft chews and I could 100% say that they most definitely helped with both of my dogs' anxiety. Check out Fit and Fetch MD and support local business by using BarTalk 10 for 10% off. That's BarTalk 10 for 10% off.
So that kind of goes back to what I was talking about. So when I got to Cadence, that was when I was kind of in between the whole drinking a lot, but still running, but no passion for running. Mm-hmm. And then when I got to Cadence, and that's when my eyes opened up to a whole new spectrum. I mean, I look at what I know now, and I seen what kind of runner I was back then. I was like, holy shit. Like, the socks. The body glide, the nutrition, the socks, the shoes, the inserts.
But more importantly, the socks.
Everything.
Oh, socks are so important. Socks are
actually very important.
Like,
don't wear
that could
socks.
be a make or break of a run.
Do not sleep on socks. Anthony taught me that.
Yeah.
Dude.
For real.
What was it? Sarah doesn't run with socks? I'm like, dude, what kind of animal are you?
But I sent a lot of people to you, and Barry sent a lot of people to you, and Abigail has, like, for the amount of people that you have helped while you were at Cadence, you would be a very good coach, like a very good runner's coach eventually. Like, maybe it's not something you're thinking about, but I'm just saying, like, the way that you're able to interact with people, the way that you're able to recommend certain things for them, the way that you are able to listen to people and then give them the shoe that works for them, or at least give them options. I mean, shit, I was in there and you recommended an Ultra and a Saucony, 2 completely different shoes, but you were like, hey, these could work for you. Mm-hmm. Let's try them on and figure it out. And it's not like you just forced me into a shoe. You were like, I recommend these because of X, Y, and Z. I bought the Sauconys, right? I needed a longer trail running shoe because I'm getting into double digits. And you're like, I definitely think you can work with these Mont Blancs. Like, and I trust you. Like, I bought them like that.
It's so funny because I still get people who text me all the time.
Yeah.
They're like, what do you think about these shoes? Or what do you think would be work for just like lightweight run, short distance running or something like that? But people will text me all the time.
You do it because you genuinely care about you cared about it. Like you'd walk in the store and I didn't feel like you were just like trying to get commission.
Right.
Like it was like you were like, honestly, dude, you don't have to order these today if you want. Like if you need to, we can go order them from somewhere else. Like if you need a different pair of shoes, you would tell me your honest opinion about what you thought I needed. You would tell me the pros and cons. You weren't trying to you were telling me about the shoes, educating me about what the benefits were, but you also weren't trying to be like super like uppity, like, well, the like arch support is like,
remember the one time I came in to look at shoes and Anthony's literally working and I'm like, he's telling me to look at the Hoka Speed Goats when I got the first long distance shoes, and he's like, yo, I'm about to go to lunch, let's go to shoe station across the street.
We did do that.
And he literally left work at Cadence and I drove him to shoe station across the street. We both bought a pair of Hokas because they didn't sell them at Cadence and he came back.
But
that's what I'm saying.
I was really invested in making sure that I knew that person had the right shoe.
Yeah. Right.
And whether we sold it or we didn't. Because to me, that will take you a longer way. Like, I truthfully haven't like recommended shoes that we didn't sell to other competitors, but they have came back and gotten other stuff. Like, but people get so hung up on like the whole business and whatever. But for me, it was all about making sure that customer had the right shoe, whether or not it was from us or whatever.
You're an MVP.
I'm still confused as to why exactly you left.
I left honestly because
I'm really just trying to know the drama.
I honestly left because I got to a certain point to where I was not having fun. And there were other things that were kind of hindering me from
this is so vague.
making my own decision because it's like, it's not my business.
Right.
And
okay, I get exactly.
I was very strong and people thought I was the manager at the store.
Oh, 100%.
I kept
people
telling
thought
people
literally, are you the manager here? 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And I wasn't.
Look at any Google review; it has his name in it.
I legitimately was like, "Yeah, Anthony's the manager. You got to go to Cadence." I told people that. That's honestly probably where something started.
I'm not the manager, but I was very, very, very invested in making sure that I knew customers by first and last name. I knew what size they wear. I knew what shoes they had prior. And people really acknowledged that. People are like, oh man, like, how do you know what size I wear last time? And I've told people to come back, whether they were even coming in to not even buy a shoe. Like, hey, let me just get your gate. Let me just see where you're at. And people are just all about customer service at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
so
it's important when people care.
So you kind of got to this place where you were like, you felt like...
I couldn't feel like I couldn't go any further.
Right. Yeah. You outgrew it.
Yeah.
Would you ever open up your own store?
100%. That's still my dream.
Please.
That's still my dream at the end of the day.
I think you should.
Like, one of the reasons being there was I learned a lot of do's, learned a lot of don'ts.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And you had a lot of connections. You were part of the Brooks team for a while.
You have so many people, if you opened your own store now, that are like, immediately...
Take my money.
Like, not to brag, but literally if I wanted to open up a store tomorrow, I have every contact.
You'd be fine.
Put it out.
Yeah, you'd be fine. So wait, why aren't you?
Wait, hold on. We're manifesting that Anthony opens up his own store.
But it wouldn't be here. It wouldn't be here.
Okay, well, wherever it is, I'm going.
Where would it be?
Like,
I don't know. I think it would be like North Carolina or something.
You're going to go to North Carolina?
Because, I mean, like, there's already stuff here.
Okay, but there's not Anthony's store here.
You don't think there's going to be running stores in freaking North Carolina?
Oh, 100%. But there's other, locations.
Nah.
Would you be
wherever you put a store, you're going to be successful. I'll just tell you that.
Yeah, but would you be moving locations just because you want to live somewhere else or because you feel like there's competition here already? Because that's stupid. Because you would honestly get so much business here because you've made so many connections. So the only logical reason would be you just want to live in North Carolina.
I would have to say probably more so. I would probably want to be more in the mountainous areas.
Okay. Oh. So location.
So it would have to be depend on like what kind of running store. Like would be a trail running store or like a road running store. But I think I would have more of a trail running store.
I think so too. That's more your jam. I was gonna say if you opened one here, literally it's like Fleet Feet, Cadence, and REI.
Yeah, so there's so many road running stuff here.
Right.
I
But
will say
trails are big in Tally.
they're all very close to each other too.
Very
Like
close.
REI, I got like a.
I think they're all within 3 miles.
Yeah, they're all within 3 miles.
REI is literally
what I was
opening up
trying to
across the
say.
street.
Yeah, in October.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's what.
ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. Wow. It's opening up soon.
that's right around the corner.
Holy crap.
I'll look at my watch too.
So
Well, if you open a store wherever you go, I'll be there.
Sponsored
Take
by
my money.
Polar.
I
Not
got
sponsored
you.
by Polar. Are you
got you.
Garmin?
Garmin, yeah.
Who's a
All day.
Garmin
Fucking
guy?
loser.
Hey, guess how long my battery?
How long?
A whole month.
Guess how long?
What?
A whole month.
But let me tell you something.
Shut up.
But
no
let me-
way.
But
the
no.
Enduro, a whole month.
Let me ask you something. How accurate are your stats, though?
Oh, they're hella accurate, actually.
Yeah,
Oh,
Garmin's
fuck.
pretty accurate.
Hella accurate. And the reason why I say that
Garmin's
is
pretty
because
accurate.
Shut up.
I'm
Chris.
sorry. I mean,
You're
like,
the one sponsored by Polar. Shut up.
I would never get a Garmin, but I'm gonna say that they're pretty fucking accurate.
the only reason why I
Better be
say
for
that,
$600.
Oh, dude, right?
the only reason why I say that is because I was on a treadmill one time, and this is where it gets very wonky because your watch will be saying something different, and the treadmill will be saying a whole lot something different.
Mm-hmm.
And my watch and the treadmill was in sync.
You need to get yourself on an air bike and see what happens.
Hell no.
Yo, the air bike.
That's a tell
fucked
sign.
Everything
Fuck
up.
that.
Well, because that's a tell sign. Because
He's
we be on the
"Nah."
air bike. Listen, I put on my sense on my arm, right? And I'll be on the air bike, literally feeling like I'm gonna die. Look at my watch. I'm at like 198. Okay, don't have my heart rate strap on.
Yep.
Look at my watch, 120.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Damn.
like cannot breathe.
Something about the Echo bike, like if I don't have my heart rate strap on, my wrist
It doesn't
is
pick
like
it up.
my wrist is like, you good?
Yeah.
115,
Yeah,
baby.
hell no.
It's like zone
115.
2, and you're like, you can't even breathe.
You're dying.
You're seeing spots.
Hey, that was like the Ron Strong because was that the Echo bike?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Ron Strong. So me and Jonathan were partners, and going into this, I was very nervous because Jonathan is a absolute
He's a maniac.
freak of
I
nature.
love that dude. He's a maniac.
He is a freak of nature.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why did I sign up for this shit? I was like, what? Jonathan was like, hey man, you
want
want
to push me way too hard.
He was like, hey man, you want to be my partner? And I was like, it was
Are you
after a workout,
stupid?
and I was already feeling good. I was like, fuck yeah, dude, I'll be your partner. I don't give a fuck. Let's go.
Yeah.
And then Friday comes, I'm like, what the fuck did I sign up for this shit? I was like, why the fuck did I sign up for this?
Oh my god.
And so I was like, Jonathan, dude, I would run more. I'm a runner.
Yeah.
But the bike is not my thing, dude. And he was like, all right, just bike a mile and I'll bike 2. And I was just like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
So I biked a mile and I was like, holy fuck. Like, this is a mile?
Yeah.
And it takes forever. We had to do 5K on the air bike.
I was dying.
That shit sucked.
I was dying.
That sucked. And
I am a sane person, and so I didn't do it.
but listen, we're dragging Abigail out. I mean, we didn't even. Okay, so let's
She
just
drags me freaking everywhere.
I drag her everywhere. But okay, let's say at the end of this, you're going into your next thing. 50K is in October. So right now, are you going to come to my class or what?
I'm going to say no. Oh, no, listen. No, I'm honest. I'm honest. The only reason why I'm going to say no is because it's so soon to my off season. And
Dude, it's like in 2.5
I don't want
weeks.
to, like,
I don't blame
if
you.
I lift right now,
Get
I'd be
some
sore
personal
as shit.
training in, bro.
I would be sore as shit. I mean, I wouldn't even be able to run for like 3 days.
Yeah.
And so there was a time before I had this all, scheduled out or shit.
I do the same thing.
There was a time like before I had no knowledge about the off season, in season thing and ultra running, whereas most ultra runners cross train during winter breaks and spring and summer, they're full blown racing. So there were times where I was full blown racing and I would try to cross train a little bit because I knew I needed it, but there was a certain point in time where I didn't know when. And so I would get so caught up in cross training, I wouldn't run. And it just vice versa. I would run and don't cross train and cross train and not run.
Yeah. You gotta learn
And
that
so
balance.
now, like, I'm very, very, very clear about how this works. Like, all right, cross training, off season, like full blown running during. I'm still gonna like cross train like maybe once or twice a week, like during the. All right,
Y'all getting this?
it's on camera, okay?
Y'all
I
getting
can't-
this?
And he's
but-
gonna get us his nutrition stats here in like a week from now.
He's going to not show up to Tracy's class, and he's not going to get personal training with me. He neither.
I
Okay,
will do it.
listen.
I will do it.
he's
I
gonna be-
promise I will
I'll
do
give
it.
you this. The race is in like 2.5 weeks. He's gonna be
But
at
after
that
the race,
50K
but
while
after
I'm
the,
in
but
Nashville.
after the race.
Oh, I mean
Yes.
that's different. Like it's my mind's on cross training at that point. Like it's off season. It's time to work because
Balance.
it's actually time to work.
Y'all listen to this.
We got it on tape,
insane.
so.
It's on tape, so.
Anytime that you are like, oh, yeah, I'll just take the next 3 weeks and never come to class and just do all base work 7 days in a row, I'm going to replay that last, 10 minutes. Remember that time you said you were going to come to class after you're 50?
I'm telling you, this off season, the reason why I say that, because I have no choice. And that's why ultra running is as serious as it is, because you can't cheat. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know that now, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can't cheat. I have to climb better. I have to be able to hold that lactate threshold at that point. So it's there's no going around. I mean, I have to do it. It's either I do it or I just keep, recycling whatever.
Right. Well, I'm excited for you.
We'll be excited to see. You're going to have to come back on because we're going to have to see how your off season and your preseason goes.
Yeah.
So, this was fun.
This was so fun.
This was really good.
Oh, what's your social? I guess so people can find you if they want to find you.
Antwalk on Instagram. ANTTWALK. So
2 T's.
ANTTWALK.
Yep.
Correct.
Antwalk.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
This is the man. He's awesome. Follow him on Instagram.
Yeah.
Hit that like button on BarTalk. Y'all better subscribe to this BarTalk. This
plug.
Hey, upcoming podcast right here. Let's go.
What did you say at the beginning on the TikTok live? Run that shit up.
Hey, run that shit up. Hey, I need fucking 500 likes on this podcast or else I'm gonna be pissed.
Run that shit up.
Hey, run that shit up. Let's go.
Hello.